My name is Hachi, and this is Zero to Scale, a video series where we talk to African founders about how they built their startups from scratch and, scale them. Today with me, I have Kennedy, Ekezie-Joseph, the CEO and co-founder of Kippa. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mix it up with. Just kidding. But yeah, it's nice to be in your place today. So we're in Kennedy's space, and it's a very beautiful house. One of the first things I said when I came in, he shares my tastes if I had money. So yeah, it's a really nice space. I'm just enjoying working the chair. He's tired of the chair, that's why he's not working here. Well, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming. I feel really good. I've had a great week, so I'm feeling good.
We're talking today. You just got into the country around 2 a.m. this morning.
Got back in, yes. I was away for a week, so it's good to be back.
How's your journey?
It was good. Mix of business and personal, so that's a good cocktail.
So yeah, Kippa is how old now?
We're 17 months old this month.
17 months old. That's fantastic. Many startups don't make it to 17 months. I know because I had some that didn't make it. Before we get into the details of what Kippa does now, let's start with a bit of a background. What was life before Kippa like? What did you do?
Wow, great question. I've done a bunch of interesting things in my life, and I think Kippa is the most exciting thing I've done, and I'll say the most recent. So maybe I'll just go back up a little bit. I was born in Lagos, moved to Calabar when I was 9 with my family. We all moved there, and I grew up in Calabar. Got into college at 16, spent 4 years at University of Calabar where I studied philosophy. While I was there, I competitively debated for the school, so represented the school at debate tournaments nationally and globally. The first time I went out of Nigeria was to compete on behalf of University of Calabar. The other thing I did while I was at Unical was I built a social enterprise that was focused on expanding access to rights for women, specifically focused on community advocacy to end the practice of female genital mutilation. And I led that organization all through my 4 years at Unical. Graduated at 19, moved back to Lagos to start working in management consulting at a company called Accenture. Was at Accenture for a little under a year, moved to Beijing for grad school, studied towards a grad school degree in economics for 1 year, worked at TikTok for another year, moved back to Nigeria in 2020, started building a different startup idea with my exact same co-founders. And we moved away from it 6 months in. Spent some time in between just learning, reading, researching, traveling locally to figure out what problem we're excited about to solve. And Kippa was the result of that trip. So I think that's a very breezy historical timeline.
I badly want to ask a lot of questions. I think I'll just indulge. I'll indulge myself.
Yeah, please.
You studied philosophy. Who's your favorite philosopher?
People always ask me that question, and it's very hard to answer, right? Throughout very different periods, very many different questions were being asked. So it's hard to put one against each other, right? But I think that a few people did shape my, thinking. I think reading Plato's Republic got me very interested and excited about philosophy. So I would always go back, to him. I spent 2 years out of the 4 years I spent studying philosophy, reading specifically African philosophy. I wrote my thesis in African philosophy. So, and it's a very fledgling branch of philosophy, and most people do not even know about it. But my thesis advisor was, till date, is probably one of the most published writers when it comes to in the field of African philosophy. So I was really glad to have him in University of Calabar, very willing to supervise my thesis. So I think the question of who exactly was my favorite philosopher is one I don't have an answer to, but I really enjoyed, going through different times, different periods, and different geographic contexts.
Okay, fair enough. So all of this kind of shaped your understanding of people and the world, if I'm correct?
In very many ways. I think just being able to, from a very young age, start to study the foundations of our modern civilizations, but also the most important thing I think philosophy gave to me was the ability to ask questions, right? To ask important questions. There's a popular saying amongst folks who study philosophy. Philosophy is philosophy not because of the answers it provides, but because of the questions it asks. So it just makes you someone who is very curious. And I think that's something that has stayed with me since then.
So what are the questions you asked that led you to Kippa?
That's a very good question. So a bunch of things, although not in this logical manner, right? So for us, the first thing was, what are we genuinely excited about working on, right? What am I, with my skill set, with the experiences and relationships I have, what am I best suited to work on that, I'll be very excited to work on for 10 plus years, right? That was one question. The second was, what significant problem exists that when solved would unlock access to an incredible market, right? From a market sizing and a scale perspective, it had to check that box for us. And the third thing, something we were also very passionate about, right? Something that had a social impact bent to it, because that's also something that, thematically, it's been consistent, across my life. And so building a company like Kippa is directly at the intersection of all three, and it made sense for us.
How does Kippa check the box for these three things? Let's start with passion. What made you passionate about solving the problem?
Yeah, so with passion, I mean, it's every one of us has tons of business owners in our families, right? Whether directly in our nuclear family or extended family members. And so for me, it was really that, right? We spent a lot of time traveling across the length and breadth of Nigeria, really meeting business owners, living amongst them, and trying to discover what challenges they have to face every day, to make ends meet with their business, right? And I think that experience, that journey of spending time with them intimately, we felt very deeply connected to that, and I also come from a family of micro merchants, grand uncles, grandparents, uncles, aunts, all have, small businesses and have done that for, years. So it's something that I feel, and my co-founders felt very intimately familiar with and, passionately connected to.
I'll touch the market last.
Of course.
Partly because the market is where
it's
like the most interesting bit for me.
Bet.
But let's go social impact. So what's the social impact that Kippa is having, or what's social impact angle that drove Kippa? We'll get to what the social impact it has.
Yeah.
What was the vision for social impact that drove Kippa?
Yeah, I mean, the stats on this are clear and, fairly accessible, right? Small businesses contribute 60% of GDP, employ 84% of all, the labor force in Nigeria, and about 96% of all businesses, right? But historically, small businesses have still been laggards when it comes to the adoption of digital tools to run their businesses. And not that the adoption of digital tools or the absence of it is a problem in and of itself, but because small businesses continue to run inefficiently, unlocking access to data, providing them access to tools to run their businesses more profitably is one that very clearly has a social impact bent, for the communities that they serve, for these business owners themselves and their families, and for the entire country. It was just very clear, and it was an easy play.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, I want to ask about the market, but you touched on it a bit, with reference
so I cheated a little bit.
Yeah, you cheated a little bit. So you talked about the market already. Really, from a market opportunity point of view, right? What was the market opportunity for Kippa in the first place?
So the way we thought about it was, I've said this before in a previous conversation, right? When we started building Kippa, we tore down every software that had been built for small businesses, trying to learn more about why some of them are working and others aren't. And for us, we knew that whoever is going to win in this market, in the long run, truly has to figure out at the right nanometer scale how to build products that work for small businesses. We knew that, of course, given the pandemic, and more small businesses will continue to come online over the next 10 years. Lots of young people are starting businesses now, starting businesses online, and the demand for digital products to run their businesses are only going to continue to increase. So for us, we knew that the company that's going to win needs to figure out how to build digital products, put this in the hands of merchants, and get them to use it, right? And significantly monetize the opportunity. And so for us, the question was, how can Kippa build the business to fit into what that long-term opportunity would be, where we visualize that the winner of this space is going to be. And I think it informs how we build out our roadmap, product and business roadmap over time.
I have a very interesting question, but I'll ask it at the end, because I think it's going to be a good clue. It's going to be a good way to close. As I was taking notes, actually, I was like, I have to not forget this. I want to know, what was the first idea for Kippa?
Yeah, first idea for Kippa was we started out with a very simple to use bookkeeping app. That was the basic functionality that came out with our
like
MVP.
accounting,
Yeah, so a pre-accounting software for small businesses that they used to. When we launched it, it was just keep track of your daily income and expense transactions. At the end of the day, we show you, simple profits, loss for the day, and how much your business is projected to make. So very simple tool. It's very simple tool. Over time, we've added, significantly new features to the product, the core product itself, our core app, but we've also launched 2 other products. Kippa is an all-in-one financial management solution for small businesses. We provide small businesses with tools to run their businesses sustainably and profitably. We have 3 flagship products. One of them is the one I talked about, a bookkeeping product that allows merchants keep track of their daily income and expense transactions, do simple things like send receipts and invoices, accept payments from their customers and suppliers all on the phone, and it does reconciliation for them. The second product we have is a business registration platform that today is one of the cheapest and fastest business registration tools in Nigeria today. So one of the problems we saw when we started getting a ton of merchants into our core bookkeeping app was a lot of them weren't properly formalized, right? And that naturally, structurally presents a challenge when it comes to them accessing financial services.
Yes.
A lot of banks won't touch them for that reason. And so we talked to them a little bit more, and we discovered that for a lot of them, navigating the complexity that is formalizing their businesses with very limited knowledge. And the context here is a lot of business owners are semi-literate at best and do not want to have to deal with that complexity. So we built a very simple product for them, but on the back end, we automate the process of getting your business formalized. And since we launched it over the past 5 months, we've registered hundreds of businesses in Nigeria today. And the third product we have is a payments platform that allows merchants to accept payments, but also sell and offer financial products to their customers. For the customers, it's bringing the point at which they can perform financial transactions a lot closer to them at Kippa merchant stores. So those are the 3 products that we have today. And given the sort of customers that we serve and work with, there's no shortage of things to build for them. So we're staying very close to them and allowing their needs inform our roadmap as we build the company. We knew that bookkeeping was an incredible wedge when we started out,
to get into the market.
to get in, and it continues to be a great way for us to provide that value to our users. But of course, the long-term play is way more than that, right? Beyond providing them access to these tools that they use to manage their finances, there are lots of other problems that businesses have, and in order to truly serve these businesses, you have to cover a wide gamut of problems that they have and provide solutions to them. So we describe it as an evolution, and that's definitely going to continue to happen, at the company, an evolution of the products and services that we offer, layering on more things to unlock more value for the merchants.
Now, let's go back to early days at Kippa. I feel like we're drifting a bit too much into what Kippa is all about.
Yeah.
What were early days like? What were the first things you did that, quote unquote, there's this concept of doing things that do not scale initially to get to like a critical level where you can now afford to start doing things that scale. What are those things you did early on?
Yeah, there were a bunch of them. I think us, picking up 3 of us and traveling, across the country by road at the height of the pandemic was a good example of that. And it was a way to accelerate our learnings. When we returned from the trip, we were living in Uyo at the time. We decided we were going to build this product out, right? And my co-founder was basically writing code for it. And so we had a conversation. What are the things that we can do between now and when we launch to massively increase the success of the launch, the potential for it to be successful? So we took the contact details of everyone who we met on our trip, and we added all of them to a Facebook group, a Facebook community. And every day we would send out a bunch of content, very important things. And we received incredible reception for that. How to price your product, how to sell online using WhatsApp, Facebook. We invited guest speakers to have live sessions. And for a lot of these business owners, it was the first time they were receiving that level of attention, from a third party that wasn't interested in taking anything from them or selling anything to them. So it was just free value. And so we grew that community, that Facebook community, from 100+ people when we created it to, over 50,000 people right, before we launched. And most of the early users of the Kippa product were from that community.
Wow.
And it was incredible because we had done a lot of product education in advance of when it was being released. When we had initial alpha versions, we recruited some of our earliest users from the community to test it, give us feedback. We saw where their pain points were, and we went back to tweak things before we went ahead to launch. And that's a great example of doing something that doesn't scale. But it was an incredible way for us to learn significantly.
Before we move on, because I want to learn a lot more about other things you did that didn't scale. Why Facebook?
Why Facebook? It was a platform where most of them were on, and it probably has one of the, if you're trying to get the community together, I think the Facebook community's product is a really good one. So it was a natural fit.
All right, yeah, makes sense. I wanted that to be out there because it stuck out to me. Like, oh, Facebook, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody's mom is on Facebook. So.
Yeah.
What other things did you do? I was watching another interview you had done, and you said something about. I'm trying to remember. There was somebody who was doing a training. And then you piggybacked off of that training to say...
Oh, yeah. So...
I want to hear that story.
Oh, yes. It was a webinar, right? And again, pandemic times, it was a webinar happening. There were about 3,000 people who attended that course. And I can't remember exactly how much it was they had to pay. So my brother and I found this out. Okay, this is happening. So we registered for it. We paid to go there. And they were selling Excel templates to them and teaching them how to use Excel to do their bookkeeping for their business.
And that's your market.
So we went in the comments and we were like, well, we're building something really cool. Like, if you want to do this, join this WhatsApp group right now. So we created a WhatsApp group. It got filled. We posted another link. We had like 3 to 4 WhatsApp groups at the end of that night. Well, okay, cool. So we went to the community and be like, guys, we're not trying to sell anything to you. We're building this product in advance. Like, we organized a community meetup of some sort where we brought everyone together to just talk to them about the product, to learn more. And they were part of people who we fed into the Facebook group as we grew the community. So that was like another very classic example. Another thing we did after we launched the community, we set up a mentoring program in the community itself. And we're going to take up as many as 50 businesses, right? And provide them with mentoring. So a lot of that we had to do ourselves. So we had to, for everyone who we accepted, schedule them and just go back to back to back. Like, our days were filled, just going back to back, providing them with mentoring. And we're, oh, well, Kennedy is my mentor. Well, you are like 35 other people. So we had to split that amongst ourselves. The goal was, we just wanted to provide value to them. We want to learn as much as possible from them. And we do not have any resources, so we have to figure out how to do this as cheaply and efficiently as possible. So yeah, I think those are very. I do miss doing things like that.
These early days. That's interesting. A lot of key things I'm taking from this. Last thing, and this is something I had someone, an investor, a Silicon Valley investor, Derek, say, which is like, it's just key to what you did, which is to provide value first, sell later.
Yeah.
And that makes sense in context of what you've done, which with the community. And then with the mentoring, the way I think of startups, right? I think of them that they start where initially you think, oh, there's something here, right? And you're taking a stab in the dark. And then you reach a critical mass or some critical event that happens and you say, you know what, I think we have something.
Yeah.
What was that moment for Kippa?
The moment for us, it wasn't exactly a moment because of the way, so we got back from our travels. The final day of our research, it happened in Uyo, right? We agreed to all convene at a particular point. So how we did this was, we wake up in the morning, 3 of us split, like go into just talk to as many merchants as you can, come back with notes, we meet at this central point. So the final day, last year we met at some bar after our research. We just chatted. What?
So great things happen at bars.
Great things happen at bars. It was a palm wine bar for context. So even greater things happen there. So we're there and we were, well, guys, I think we have enough information, right? And we made a decision there to build an MVP. And I think for us, that probably was the moment, because building the community allowed us to just realize, okay, we are definitely onto something, right? Seeing the sort of value we're able to provide to people, how quickly the community grew, how quickly folks were adding other people, the significant engagement we saw. we're like, okay, we're onto something. We know these guys have lots of challenges, lots of problems, and we can build for them.
Okay.
And it was all in from that point on. So I think that the point where we decided, let's go ahead and build this MVP and start to try to do things that don't scale, that was the moment where we were like, okay, we're in.
Now, post-launch, you've launched. Let's use launch as for here the period when your app finally goes live.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I know you're probably acquiring hundreds of users daily, based off of the numbers of what I can see, 400K over less than 1,000 days.
Yeah.
What has been the most significant contributor to that growth?
So the growth from 0 to where we are now, we've used a couple of vehicles to scale, and I'm going to talk about those. But I think the first thing is just the mindset of growth. And when we started out, one of the most important hires that we made were in product and growth. And it's one that's very hard to hire for in Nigeria, I think, as many of us know. So I spent months and months, focusing on, we need great growth talent in the company. Our growth team has been specifically responsible for our scale since then. Also, it's the mindset. So in Nigeria today, there are over 40 million small businesses. When you look at numbers, from a company like Kippa and many other companies building, collectively, we're still a drop in the ocean, right? When you think about the number of users that are being served today.
400,000.
So there's a significant market, and for us, we knew that for the model we're building with, it's very important to grow. It's very important to get user feedback and continue to improve the product over time. And for me also, coming from, TikTok, a very giant organization where despite how many, how much global dominance they have, there's still a lot of focus on, doing things that don't scale and rapid iterations and, growth. So that mindset definitely involved how we started out at Kippa, and that has shaped how we've grown.
All right, fair. Now I'm going to lean into the TikTok angle. Were there strategies you learned or maybe applied at TikTok that you were able to, like specific strategies, growth strategy, you were able to leverage with Kippa?
I think our earliest approach to user research and user supports, customer supports, like those were things I borrowed from my time at TikTok. My time at TikTok had us specifically, work with content creators. Wear a white shirt versus a black shirt, to create content and do this number of challenges every week to be successful. That's intimate attention to detail. We did provide that when we started out the company. And I think, having a community, providing value to them, allowed us do that. So yeah, I'll say that's a very specific strategy, for example, that that I learned from TikTok and continues to sustain today, even with how we support our users, support our merchants.
Does Kippa still have that very close relationship with merchants?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We do have a user research team, but more than anything else, everyone who is involved with product building spends time with users before they touch anything on their laptop.
I'll tell you a funny story. When we were trying to reach you earlier today, right, I told you I made a tweet.
Yeah.
So what he replied and said, text them on IG and tell them to call you. They'll call you.
That's very funny.
It was wild. It was wild. I was like, wow. And the person doesn't even work with. The person doesn't work with. The person's like, if you need some, just text them on IG. Tell them to call. They'll call you. Like,
that's great. That's great.
Maybe when I need someone to talk to,
just tell them to call you.
Call me, please. All right, so I brought Kennedy. I brought cards to Kennedy's house to see if I can beat him, because that's my mission. That's why I played cards.
Game on. I've not played in a while. I used to play a lot when I was much younger, but it's okay. I like a good challenge. So.
All right, so you have to take something off the edge. Yeah. No, so bring that. So that just stays here. Then we go 1, 2. We have.
Yeah.
9. Yeah. So this is our market here. But before we start, I noticed the Polaroid and it was really curious.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
So I bought that in the US. I'm buying an older generation version of it though. I'm excited for that.
Why? What excites you?
I just like taking pictures at home. Random pictures of friends when they come over, random moments. Growing up, my parents, as they all do, have these big albums. And I realized I really enjoy looking through old pictures of theirs. Random pictures especially, not scripted pictures. I'm just trying to create as much of that for my own keepsake.
Yeah, so you go.
It's looking exciting already.
Wow. I don't like that it's exciting for you. This is not looking as interesting as I thought it would be, but nevertheless, we move.
We move.
Yeah. So let's talk hiring at Kippa.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, how do you hire for fast-paced executors at Kippa?
I think every company has to find its own rhythm when it comes to hiring. For most of the roles that we hire for, we poach versus, just open. Seriously, we do poach. I'm sure some people watching this may have received LinkedIn messages from me in the past trying to poach them.
I told you guys stole the hire from me.
Yes. And I feel a good number of people I've met have said that, you stole that guy from me, but it's what we do. What Duke and I know is the team that we build at the company will define how, quickly and successfully the company grows, right? And we keep that at the back of our minds when talking to candidates. There are a few things we've learned, a few risks that over time we've identified and have really honed that allow us avoid some of the pitfalls that we'll typically make at the very early stage. We are also not afraid to admit when we make hiring mistakes and try to correct for that in a very candid, honest way. But yeah, I think hiring is one of the core strengths that we do have as a founding team, if I'm to say that myself.
I want to walk back a bit. You said there are a few things you've noted that help you kind of avoid common pitfalls.
Yeah.
What are some of those things?
So a bunch of things. We try to avoid candidates who are too junior or too senior. Too junior, the obvious risks is there's going to be so much hand-holding, and that would tax our in-house bandwidth a lot, and getting them up to speed will take a lot of time or maybe never happen. The risk with too senior people is they may risk building processes too early on that the organization is not ready for, and investing a lot of time and resources in doing that. And so we do try to find the golden mean there. As much as possible, we also try to stay away from credentialism. It's very hard because all of us say it, but we also we fall for it.
It's a signal.
It's appealing. It's lustfully appealing in many ways when people have fancy companies and titles, on their resume. But we try to look beyond that, and so that's why for every interview, like lead, manager level and above, Duke or myself take the first interviews to really screen out for that, and to set the expectations very correct. I was talking to a founder the other day and was telling them about how we hired made a senior hire, and he was surprised, like, do you send assessments to senior hires?
I know,
like,
right?
You should especially send assessments to senior hires, right? Especially that. I think it's a good way to prohibitively, weed out those who will not be a good fit. We also tend to avoid people who, feel like, okay, well, finally I want to take a risk, right? Especially if they are senior and they feel like this is the opportunity for them to now finally take a risk because they are being given a position of leadership at a startup, right? We try to look for those who have found a way, irrespective of what roles or titles they've held in the past, to make an impact and to take ownership and take responsibility, because it says a lot about their character. Those are just one few of the sort of things, pointers that we look out for. And also people who like everyone says, and truly enjoy working with, people who you're happy being stuck working on a hard problem with. And so personality and the personality fit in that sense also matters a lot to us.
Culture fit.
Yeah. So personality and culture fit, of course. Yeah.
Okay, let's
Who had the last hand? You or me?
Me.
You?
I did, so you.
Okay.
We'll keep at this for a bit until
For a while.
Opens up, because I feel like.
Wow.
All the good cards are hidden.
All the good cards are hidden. I do agree.
Finally.
Finally, some breakthrough.
Yes, we're out of the woods.
So for twos, you have to pick two, right?
Yes, I have to pick two.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about blocking. Blocking picks. I just be humble and pick my two.
Please do.
Wow.
Sorry, they keep coming. I know.
Wow. Wow.
Good thing is you have enough cards in your hand, so
I have to be strategic about how I exact my revenge. You miss a turn, and then you can play now.
wow.
You just picked one. It's not. I didn't do too much.
You didn't do too much.
I didn't do too much. You miss a turn, you miss another turn, and
Damn.
you have to pick two.
Damn.
I need a star. If you have a star-shaped card, okay, now would be a time to put it on the deck. I need a circle.
Damn.
You don't have one.
No, I don't. Do you have one at least?
I have one. I'm on my last card now.
Wow. Thank God for that.
I'm on my, they call it the semi-last card.
Semi-last
On
card.
my semi-last card now. I need a triangle.
Oh damn. Oh dear.
This is
Oh
sound,
dear.
This is sound of victory.
Oh dear.
I hear the sound of victory. You don't have one.
Shame. But
I mean, if you have a 20, you can request for
I
something
do
else.
not trust I would have pulled that card.
So
I don't need to know.
are we capturing my victory? We are.
Oh my God.
What's the victory song?
I was
Cue
defeated.
the
in my-
victory song when I'm playing this. Yes. So that's it.
Congrats, man.
Checkmate.
You have won
Check
yourself.
off.
Congrats.
I've won myself what?
I know. The quack deal.
That's fair. So one last question. What are the 3 most important lessons you've learned from building businesses in Africa?
I think one of them is trust your guts and invest a lot of time building it. Most especially by talking to your users. It does help when you have to make quick, rapid decisions, right? And over time, you increasingly trust your gut a lot more.
Like training your intuition.
Training your intuition for those moments. I think that probably that's a very, very important one because, building a startup really is an exercise in decision making. That's exactly what it is. So that ability to make decisions with the information and resources that you have. The second, I've probably touched on it earlier. Your company is only going to be as successful as the team that you've built around this. I think we say it, but I don't know that we understand it enough, right? It's incredibly critical to pay attention to the team you're assembling as a founder. And I think the third is problems have been there for a reason and they've not been solved for a reason, right? And so I would say
Chesterton fans.
take an incredible position of intellectual humility when trying to solve a problem. Assume that you do not know. Assume that people who are as smart as you, who have had as much resources as you have tried to and have not been able to solve for it. So when you assume that position of intellectual humility, it allows you to actually start asking the right questions, to go beneath the noise and dig deeper to understand how you truly can, solve the problem you're trying to. So I think that's important. We think there's a tendency to assume that those who came before us are stupid and are slow and don't move fast and are not innovative and all of these things we say, but they're not stupid. They are really not stupid, and we have to be a lot more intellectually humble.
So that reminds me. It's actually there's I don't know if it's a theory or whatever, named after what you discussed. The last one you discussed, the intellectual human discourse. It's called Chesterton's fence, and the idea is if you see a fence somewhere, there's a reason why it's there.
Oh yeah.
Right. So don't just assume, why is this fence there? Let's pull it down, because you may find that you may have to rebuild the fence, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very beautiful concept. I like that. That's something you factor into.
Yeah.
But I never even thought it was something you factor into building.
Oh no, it is.
I just thought it was one of those interesting theories I read about.
No, it's very important. It's very, very important. Things are the way they are for a reason, and so you have to find out why for it to solve that. Yeah.
That's cool. So we've come to the end of this. This has been a very, very splendid time speaking with you.
Likewise.
Thank you for letting us use your home to
Absolutely, absolutely, and thanks for
this.
coming by very, very early.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for watching. If you stayed till the end. Till next time, I'm Hachi, and this is Zero to Scale.
Awesome.